Then in the fall, current is still a big deal, you know, until that water gets on that lower end of that spectrum. You know, when it's 65, 60, even in the upper 50s, you still want to be fishing the areas that's got a lot of current ripping through them and fishing those smaller eddies. And basically just you'll watch as that eddy, the size of those eddies where you catch those fish, they're just going to grow and grow and grow. You know, so say at 60, I'm going to be catching them in a eddy that's maybe half the size of this table. Then as it gets down to 55, it's going to be in a larger one. At 50, it's going to be in that boat size eddy. You know, so it's those fish kind of relate with that current as to what size eddies they are. And there's a lot of those little small eddies, then there's fewer of the little bit larger ones, and even fewer of the ones larger than that on the most all river systems. So you'll see that as it gets later in the year, you're going to start catching more fish. Once you find them, you're going to catch more out of the same spot. In the summer and early fall, a lot of times it'll be a 1 or 2 fish deal. You'll pull up, bam, bam, catch a couple, and that's it. That's all that's there. So you drift on down, hit the next little eddy, bam, bam, catch a couple. Where in the fall or later in the fall and the winter, you're going to find a place and catch 6 or 8 or 10 out of it. And then you're going to fish a long way and not catch anything. Then you're going to find a place, catch 6 or 8 or 10 out of it, you know. So that it kind of goes along with that. Those fish are going to group up more as that water gets colder as well. Shoals can still be really good, you know, especially early in the fall when those fish are still feeding heavy. But and the same thing with those eddies. Those deeper and deeper holes in the rivers where those fish are going to congregate. You know, at some of the rivers we fish at home, at 60 degrees, they're going to be in places that are 1.5 feet, 2 foot deep. At 55 degrees, they want more like 3 or 4. At 50, they want more like 5 or 6, 7 foot deep. So it's all relative to how much that water cools off. They want just a little bit deeper water, more security to stay in. And another thing about the fall is that's usually when the water flow is at its lowest. If it's just kind of a natural flowing system, flows out of the mountains or any system for that matter, you know, our country and you all are in the Appalachian Mountains too, that's when we typically get the least amount of rainfall, you know, so that's when our river systems are going to be their lowest, going to be their clearest on average. You'll, of course, get rain and it'll change that, but that's typically when those systems are at their lowest. You know, in the springtime, they're going to be flowing at their highest. Summertime can kind of go either way, and the fall is typically when they're at their lowest. As the water gets colder, so in the summertime, when I know those fish are really active and they'll chase something really quick, I'll make my cast majority upstream and bring it right straight down with the current. And as that water gets cooler, I'm probably going to sweep it across more, you know, and that's saying I've got the pick of making my cast from anywhere I want to. You know, like whenever I fished at the Chesapeake Bay last year, I just had to get my bait in there from any way I could because I couldn't position my boat anywhere to make the exact cast I wanted. But if it's in the summertime, I want to bring that bait downriver really about as fast as I can with a moving bait. You know, with a shaky head or something a little slower, I may fish it more at a 45-degree angle or something, but in the winter, it's usually going to be more of a 90-degree presentation. And one thing I find myself doing more in the winter, if I've got my choice, I'm going to fish backwards with the current. Okay, so if you imagine we're pitching a jig down this riprap bank, which is something I really like to do on the river in the wintertime, whether it's riprap or bluff, whatever it may be. Okay, so we've got the currents flowing at my face. I'm going to be floating backwards, but I'm going to pitch my jig over here 90 degrees out or even a little bit downriver, but my boat's constantly moving downriver. So I pitch it over here. My boat is kind of following my bait down the river. So if I pitch it up here, up ahead of the boat, and the boat's going down, I'm really dragging that thing really fast. But if I'm pitching it right straight out, all I got to do is pick it up. It comes off the bottom, and then it falls back down kind of at the speed the boat is. You know, so that's something in the wintertime I really like to fish backwards because of what it allows my bait to do.
It's Mike Iaconelli. This is Bass U TV.
Here's what's awesome about Bass U TV.
You get the top instructors.
You will learn things at Bass U that you will learn nowhere else.
We take the mystery and the myths out of bass fishing.
Real tools that help you catch more fish consistently.
At Bass U TV, shoes are optional.
And I like turtles.
And that's why you want to check out Bass U TV.
Join the Bass U family.
Welcome to Bass U TV.